That's when my firm literally grew and blew up, from unpredictable to wildly profitable. Literally why I'm successful. You all have laptops, you all have phones. Start now. Are they embarrassed to call me? Are they intimidated? Lame excuses.
Hey, it's Mike Morse. I'm here at my alma mater, University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. I was asked to come in and give a talk today to over 100 law students about what I've learned over the last 30 years. Let's see how it goes.
From the University of Detroit School of Law. In his free time, he loves to golf, travel, and spend time with his three daughters. Please welcome Mike Morse.
Thank you. Appreciate it. When I was where you are sitting right now, some 30 years ago, I literally thought I was the dumbest person in the room. I had zero confidence in my academic abilities. I felt like a fake, like a fraud. I would read the cases like 𝗕𝗟𝗢𝗓𝗓, and I thought it was speaking another language. I would have to read that dozens of times. And that was before law school even started. When I walked into school that first day, I thought this was like another planet. People were here to learn. People were here to become something. People were competitive. And then I got to class. And boy, was I nervous. I was so nervous that I was going to get called on that first day. And luckily, I didn't get called on. But there was these people in the room, we used to call them gunners. I don't know what you call them now. The people who knew everything and kind of people who were way smarter than me. They would answer the questions with so much confidence. Their answers were given in a way that I thought I was reading a different textbook. I had no idea what they were talking about. And that's when I got really nervous. And let me just back up 1 minute. I had a pretty tumultuous high school experience. Parents were going through a divorce, we moved, I had no friends in my new high school, and I was one of the only few Jewish kids in the school, and I was relentlessly bullied. It was an awesome experience. I counted down the days till high school was over, got by with barely C's, and I was more focused on not getting beaten up rather than my homework. I wanted to get away as far away as possible after high school. So I found the farthest school I could find, the University of Arizona, 2 flights away, and it felt like a million miles away, and it was heaven. No parents were there. They were both on their second and third marriages by that point, and I made a lot of friends. And I absolutely loved it out there. 40 years of heaven. I didn't do a lot of studying, to be honest. But I did manage to get good enough grades, managed to get the score I needed to get on the LSAT, to get into a few law schools, including University of Detroit, which I'm very happy that I went to. But law school was different. I wasn't prepared. I felt like I was on my own for the first time. Just me and the law, me and the exams. So I studied my butt off. I was here every single day till 10 p.m. or whenever it was they kicked me out. I talked to my professors all the time. I was in every study group, every study hall. I was studying with others. Luckily for me, my dad was an attorney here in town, and he would help me. He wanted to be my partner. I went to law school to be like him, to be with him, to partner with him. And he loved being a lawyer, and he was a great one. His clients loved him, the judges loved him. He was so nice and kind to everybody he would meet, not just his clients or other lawyers, but the parking attendants and the people cleaning the offices. He just made everyone feel special. And he made lawyering look fun. and he was a solo practitioner, and he couldn't wait for us to work together. The December exams, which some of you are getting ready to take, were nerve-wracking. I had no idea how to do it alone. You see, at the University of Arizona, exams were kind of like a group project, if you know what I mean. And I was about to take 5 of them on my own. After I took those 5, I was shocked that I got all A's, and I was in the top 5 of my class. For the first time in my life, sitting here in these halls, I felt smart. I felt that I could do this. I studied just as hard the second semester of that first year, and not a day went by without me being here again till 10 o'clock, studying with other people, talking out the cases, rereading the cases. It did not come easy for me. Understanding the cases and the meaning was the hardest thing to this day pretty much I've ever done. And then came the final exams. I knew I had it in me because of what happened in December. But one night when I came home from studying, I was told that my dad, Joel Morse, who was lecturing to other lawyers in Mexico, had died suddenly of a massive heart attack at age 49. He was my best friend, the only reason I went to law school, and to say it was devastating would be an understatement. My professors delayed my exams a couple of days, and I went on to take them and miraculously got all A's again. That summer, my dad had gotten me a job at what he called a real law firm with other lawyers, with dozens of lawyers. And he got me a job walking distance to this firm. It was called 𝗕𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗘, and it was the largest personal injury firm in the state's history until mine came along. While I was there that first few weeks, I debated dropping out of law school. Did I really want to go to become a lawyer without him? What else would I do? I thought I didn't really have any other skills, so obviously I continued on, and 30 plus years later, I'm very happy that I continued. I was asked to come here today and give you some insights and lessons, what I've learned over the last 30 plus years of practicing law. And like the introduction said, I have given lots of talks around the country, some out of the country, and that has been amazing. But one thing I've never done is spoken to law students. So I have speeches and talks that I've given dozens of times, but I've never talked to law students. So I really sat down and thought, what would I have wanted to know when I was sitting in these chairs in this building? I wrote this book 4 years ago, right before COVID, teaching lawyers how to run a really good and successful practice. It has sold 10,000, 20,000 books, hundreds of 5-star reviews. I get emails every day from lawyers around the world saying how this book changed their life. And I'm proud of the book. And in the book, I talk about how to properly hire and fire and retain great lawyers, and how to market and advertise and stand out, and how to differentiate yourself, and how to look at your numbers and your data, and what to do with all of that. Things that you won't care about for a few years. But you're all getting a book today anyway, and one day, I hope you read it. But for you still in law school, sitting here, I want to give you some practical advice. Advice that maybe others won't tell you. After working at a law firm and then running and owning a law firm and having hundreds and hundreds of lawyers go through my doors, I think I've learned a thing or two. And I'm one of those happy lawyers. I'm happy with our profession. I'm happy being an attorney. I'm happy building the largest firm, not just in the state, but one of the largest firms in the country. And the bio that was read said we had 150 employees. We actually have 220 employees. A couple of them are sitting in this room. Christine and Drew work for us, or Drew used to work for us. In the beginning days, I used to settle thousands of dollars worth of cases. This year, we're going to go over $200 million worth of personal injury cases in 1 year. So here are my best 10 tips for you, for your, not only advice here in law school, but for when you start practicing law. The number one tip, and this isn't in a real particular order, is finding clients. So the first thing I want to confirm is I'm guessing somebody in this room went to law school because you want to make a lot of money and want to be financially secure. Is that true? Can I get at least, okay, we have at least a couple honest people here. Vince, of course. was one of them. So what I'm going to tell you is kind of a secret because we never learned this in law school, but if you want to make big money, you got to bring in clients. It's the hardest thing you're going to do. There's no class here to tell you that. Nobody tells you that. It's the hardest thing to do. If you find your clients, I don't care what type of law you're practicing, the money will find you. Again, most lawyers won't tell you that. So you will and can get good at the law part, whatever the law is, wills and trusts, divorce, criminal, corporate, whatever it is. But you can't be a good lawyer, you won't be an experienced lawyer without clients. Now, once you get the clients, you need to treat these clients like gold. You need to listen way more than you talk. And you need to give good advice, and you need to respect your clients. And you need to turn them into raving fans. You ever go to a restaurant or a movie or stay in a hotel that you absolutely loved and the service was amazing and you couldn't wait to leave that establishment and tell all your friends and family? That's how I think about my law firm every single day, and it's worked. And I believe that's one reason we are so darn successful. The last biggest piece of advice about getting clients is whether or not you should keep the client. And I remember in ethics class they said that, you know, if you and your clients don't agree on an outcome, don't take that client. It made no sense when I was in law school. It makes sense 30 years later. If you and your client don't agree on the outcome, refer them out or close their file. I learned that one the hard way. But if you don't agree on the outcome, and it could be your only client, it's going to be a disaster if you continue to represent that person. So how do you get clients? You start right now. My friend Vince, who I went to law school with, who's in the back, said that he thought when I graduated law school I had already a bunch of cases. I don't think that's true, but it's kind of funny. But you start here, you start networking. We talked about this at lunch when I was sitting with some of the people, and nobody really knows what networking means when you're here in law school. But the person to your left or the person to your right may send you the biggest case of your whole life. Take 1 second and look to your left and your right. Do me a favor, I want to see every head turn. Thank you. My first job out of law school was with one of my dad's best friends, and actually one of his law clerks. And he took me under his wing because my dad was no longer here, and he offered me a job as a law clerk and a lawyer. And when I passed the bar, I worked for him, and I worked my ass off for 3 years. I started as an associate making $32,000 a year. Now, the hardest part of being any lawyer, including personal injury, is bringing in clients. So I started telling all my friends from law school what I was doing. And one of them started sending me cases. And what I found out was the handling of a personal injury case is fairly straightforward and simple. You're going to get good at that part of it. The hard part is getting that case. So he started referring me cases because he was a collection attorney, and so he had clients, but he didn't know how to work up a personal injury case. And I treated his referrals like family. They never called him and complained about me. They called him and praised me. And the second I settled that case, I ran to his office with a referral check, and I said, thank you, every single time. Now, when I got fired from that first job, yes, I got fired, he was my first call. I said, I got fired and I have no cases and I have nowhere to go. And he says, come to my office right now. This is 3 years after graduating law school, had no cases to myself because the law firm technically keeps them all. He introduced me to his landlord, who gave me an office, a desk, a chair, and a receptionist. I got to share the receptionist, and him and I split the fees 50-50, and I taught him how to practice personal injury law. He paid for the cases because I didn't have any money, and it was a complete and utter win-win. He's now a very successful lawyer in Southfield, practicing personal injury, and we still share cases back and forth. And again, I met him right here in this building. So you don't know who in this room, who in this class will become your best friend, who will become a referral source, a referral partner. But my advice is connect with everyone. Keep in touch, promote yourself, share what you're doing when you leave this building. Put your phones down. Talk to people. Now today, when I've been here for a couple hours, I haven't seen too many people on their phones and not talking, but I did see a few walking through the hallway staring at the phone. When I went here in 1989, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have laptops. We were forced to talk to each other. One other thing I wish I did was I wish I started my brand then. I'm going to give this advice, and probably most of you won't do this, but I wish that when I was sitting here, brand wasn't a word then. Again, we didn't have social media or internet. But like some of you may or may not have seen me on a billboard or a TV commercial over the past 12 years. But I was a pretty successful lawyer before that, just you didn't know who I was. Nobody knew who I was. You see, I was getting my cases from the largest advertiser in Michigan. We'll call him Sid. He would send me thousands of cases every year, and I would send him millions of dollars in referral fees. And then one day in May of 2011, he called me and he says, "Mike, we need to speak now." I knew immediately that another fire was brewing. He came into my office, he sat on my couch, and he says, "We've decided not to send you any more cases. Have a nice day." And he left my office. I was fired again. I remember him leaving, shutting the door, and I just, like, what the heck just happened? I had 30 employees. Am I going to have to start laying off people right now? I decided I was going to go on TV and compete. What else was I going to do? I had 30 families to support. I think I had a kid or two at the time. My brand, Mike Wins, started that day, and I wish I would have done it earlier. So my advice today is, don't wait for something like that to happen to you. Brand yourself now, and don't be boring. I met some really interesting people in this room just in the few minutes I've been here. Be that Cherry Garcia flavor. Don't be vanilla. Figure out how to be memorable and stand out. Go out there and get professional headshots. Figure out what's cool or unique about you. Set up your LinkedIn and your Instagram and your Facebook and your TikTok. Get your URLs now for your future websites. Who cares if you never use it? They're basically free. Most of you are going to work for a law firm. Some of you may not even open your own shop. But I promise you, if a young lawyer comes into my door with a full brand, with an audience, you don't think I want that person in my firm? Vince, would we like that person in our firms? So start now. And again, most of you won't. But somebody at the table asked me, how do we get these jobs? Some of these firms get hundreds of resumes. Stand out. Figure that out. Do something creative. Be the one to do that. So few people do it. Number 2 piece of advice for you today is to get a job at a law firm if possible. I'll never forget my first legal job. I've already mentioned it was walking distance to this building. I walked in the first day and they handed me an assignment. Write a motion for summary disposition. I said, what the heck is a motion for summary disposition? When in law school here, we learned it was a motion for summary judgment. I never heard the term disposition. That was day 1. I had never written anything in law school that was actually going to be filed and read by a real judge. I never sat down with a lawyer to see what kind of work they wanted, how they wanted this to be, what kind of arguments. Other than my father talking to lawyers, this was the first time I was at a real law firm, and I was on my own, and it was scary. But it was highly educational. I talked to Drew, who had worked for my firm 2 years before law school, and he said it's changed his law school experience. He is so much more prepared for law school. It's not too late, okay? After your first year, or whenever you can work for a law firm, do so. It gave me stuff to talk about, especially in interviews. Because I actually had an interview before my first job, and I had nothing to talk about. What kind of law do you want to practice one day? I mean, I'm a first year at the end of this. I'm like, I made something up. I don't even remember what I said. I did not get the job. It was I did a terrible job in that interview. But after that first year of writing and going to court and watching lawyers, it helped me with everything, including law school, including my bar exam. I learned and watched how the lawyers and the secretaries and the paralegals all got along, all interacted. Everyone at the firm knew who I was by the end of that first summer. Why? Because I showed up, I asked to go to court, I asked to watch my motions being heard, I asked what happened to my motions, I asked how I could get better. And if you really want a job, and you really want to learn at a specific type of firm, a specific type of practice, and you send a resume and you stand out and they don't give you the job, offer to work for free. I know the times are tough and I know people need money, but I promise you, you got a better chance of getting in that door and learning and putting that on your resume, and you won't be sorry. And learn how to interview. Practice with your friends. There's so much on the internet about how to interview, but I'll tell you, I told one story to the people I was having lunch with. I've interviewed hundreds of people, hundreds. And there's some funny ones. And they make fun of me at my firm because I can do an interview, and if I don't like the person, it lasts a minute. I don't BS. I don't sit there for 30 minutes and make them feel good about themselves. I had a guy walk in chewing gum. The interview lasted 1 minute. I have people come in and they're dressed like a slob, or their clothes don't fit, or they don't make eye contact, or they don't have a firm handshake. Those interviews don't last very long. And there's certain people who walk in and don't know the first thing about me or my law firm. Those interviews don't last long. Do your research. Be ready for hard questions. I ask hard questions. And I expect a good question. If I say, do you have one question for me? I expect a good question. Not eyes rolling up in the sky, what should I ask this guy? Not good. You're lawyers, you're supposed to be able to think on your feet. Be prepared. Pre-write them, pre-memorize them. I don't care. Practice with your friends. Follow up if you want the job. Send handwritten thank you notes. Send a gift, send a pizza, I don't care. Stand out. Be creative. Show me how bad you want that job. Show me what kind of employee you will make. Very, very few people do this. If you do this, if you take any of this advice, you will be way ahead of the game. Number 3, I've said it a couple times, but it's so important, it's got its own. I want you to stand out once you get that job. What do I mean? And I believe this is one of the most important things you can do to be successful and be happy, quite frankly. We have hundreds of lawyers and students come through our firm for the last 20 plus years. I've had some standouts and I've had some duds. You don't want to be a dud. You want to dress the part. I don't care if everybody in the firm is khakis and polos. Show up in a sport coat. Show up early. Leave late. If you're getting grunt work, don't complain. I heard Tom Brady recently speak, and he said when he was a third-string quarterback at University of Michigan, he'd get 2 snaps at a practice, and the second string would get 10 snaps, and the first would get 20. And what did he do? He didn't complain. He made those the best 2 snaps of his life, and they noticed. And the next day, he got 4 snaps. And the next day, he got 6 snaps. And you know what happened with Tom Brady. He showed up and made everything he did amazing. And that's what you guys can do as young lawyers. And be grateful for that job. Like, when people are grateful, you know it. You guys know what gratefulness looks like. You know if somebody wants to be there. You know if people are complaining. You know if people are gossiping. You know if people are cutting corners. You know if you show up at an event. If your law firm's having an event, show up. If you can volunteer for something, raise your hand. I have 220 employees. I sit in meetings and they say, you know, John Smith, blah, blah, blah. Who the heck is John Smith? Make sure that the people who matter know who you are, and that's doable. It takes courage, it takes bravery, but what do you have to lose? And not only showing up there, but I want you to show up at school too. You're going to show up at school, and you're going to show up at work, and you're going to become indispensable. Okay, I like that word, indispensable. People ask me all the time, how am I going to be how am I going to make sure that I'm successful at this firm? Become indispensable. I've had those employees, and guess what? Those employees can write their own ticket, basically. And it's not that hard. And yet, not many people are becoming indispensable. Be the person that the boss of the firm can't live without. Hard to give a lot of details, but if there's an office lunch, show up. If the boss is having a fundraiser, show up. If there's a trial, offer to help. Offer to carry the guy's bag. Offer to carry the woman's driver to court so she could focus on the trial. If there's a party or an event or anything, show up. It's so easy to do. And when you're in this school, before you get that job, show up. I'm so impressed that you're all here today and that you showed up. And some of you didn't even have classes today. And I'm honored that you came. But I'm also more happy for yourself because you're showing up. There's a lot of people not here in this class. I think I would bet on you guys being successful over others. Everyone here should know who you are in a genuine way. My classmates, when I was here, knew who I was. And I didn't know I was going to be giving this talk 30 years later, but this dawned on me. Without me knowing, I was voted most likely to succeed and most likely to make the most money. These were 200 students who knew me. I didn't lobby for these awards. I didn't even know these awards were going on. But that's what I did. I apparently showed up to law school, and the other students saw it and felt it. That's showing up to law school. When you're walking in the hallways, when you're in class, and I gotta say, this was not part of my planned comments, but I sat through a class today. I watched 10 minutes. I saw people with 2 screens, phones, on their phones. One guy was playing chess. I'm watching, I'm thinking, I would have been in trouble because I get distracted easily. Whatever you can do, show up and fight that urge to text, fight that urge to email, fight that urge to play chess, pay attention to the teachers and the professors and talk back and so they know who you are. When you go ask for that recommendation, if you were one of the kids who were participating, they want to know your name. They don't memorize every name. They know the special kids' names or a lot of the people's names. Make sure you're one of those people they know. The people who come in my firm, I have 60 lawyers. Most are great. Some are mediocre. People are there with their doors shut. People are on their phones. People aren't coming to office events. They're not showing up early or staying late, or even worse, they're working from home because we give them a choice. You have a choice. Show up to school, go virtual, miss a class. Fully show up. You need to choose in this life which way you want to do, and my best advice is to show up fully and early in law school and in your career. Even if the other ones around you aren't, you show up and you will be rewarded, noticed, and recognized. Number 5, goal setting. A goal is a dream without a deadline. Goal setting has changed my life. I could spend hours and hours and hours on goal setting, but they're not going to let me. But I want you to, you could go and read about setting goals. Read about setting goals. You won't believe the growth and freedom you can earn. A couple of little tips on goal setting that has totally changed my life and my career. There are some smart goals you can set for yourselves and some not so smart goals. If you like what I'm saying and you want to set a goal, I want you to be specific. So at the end of the semester, end of the year, I can come to you and say, Drew, that goal that you set, is it done or not done? I don't want to say, it's kind of done, it's kind of not done. For example, you don't just say, I want to get better grades this semester. You want to set a specific plan to get those better grades, or say, I want to get all A's. Did you get all A's or not? Like, I would never say, I want to increase revenue this year. That's a bad goal. I want to increase revenue by 25%. That's a better goal. I want to sign up more cases this year. Bad goal. I want to sign up 50 cases a week. That's a really good goal. I want to eat better, get healthy. Not a very good goal. A better goal is, I want to work out 5 days a week for 30 minutes and go on a vegetarian diet. I want to show up at law school like Mike said. Not a great goal. I'm going to join 2 clubs, volunteer at the office clinic, and run for school president. That's a really good specific goal. So just be specific. So if I come to you one day and say, did you get that goal done? You can say yes or no. And setting goals has changed my life. Learning about growth mindset, learning about extreme ownership, there's so many things that will help you as law students and in life that I recommend that you go learn about. Number 6, find yourself a good mentor or coach or both. My law firm burned to the ground, yes, another fire, in 2007. I had about 30 employees at the time, and we were doing pretty well. I had a business coach at that time who implored me to get a COO. I didn't even know what a COO was. They don't really, at least when I was here, they didn't teach you what a COO was. And I did hire one with my coaches and my other mentors urging, right after the fire, and it was the best advice I have ever gotten. John 𝗂𝗏𝗧𝗘, still with me 16 years later, is my co-author of the book, and he is running my law firm today as we speak. Yes, a non-lawyer is running my law firm. When I did that 16 years ago, that was unheard of. It is becoming more in vogue now, but it was a new thing that I would have never come up with on my own. If it wasn't for mentors like my father-in-law or Gino Wickman or others, I would not be where I'm at today. They taught me that a law firm is actually a business. Now, you may have heard that, you may read about that, but it's true. So you need to make these relationships with these smarter people. These people are way smarter than I was. And the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, and it's not too early to start right now. Surround yourself with good, smart, quality people. Don't be afraid to ask for help or advice. It's shocking how few people call me. I've never said no to a meeting or a sit down or to give advice. If somebody wants help, I help. And I know so many good lawyers who feel the same. Because when you've made it successfully in your career, you want to help. You want to give back. What else is there? It's not about making money anymore at that point. It's about giving back. And it's shocking how few people ask for advice, ask for cases, ask for a job. Are they embarrassed to call me? Are they intimidated? Lame excuses. Be those brave ones. What's the worst that can happen? They say no? You know, one of my favorite quotes, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So ask, be brave. Number 7, something that I do every day is I read, I learn, I'm continuously growing, I'm continuously trying to help people. I'm never too busy. I stay up to date on everything. I read a lot, and now obviously it's easier than ever. But be that person, be that curious person, like when ChatGPT came out. Be that person to figure it out and summarize it and share it with your friend or your firm. Once you're working for a law firm, new cases come out every day. You guys probably don't know that, but they come out every day. Find those relevant ones, summarize it, email it around the law firm without being asked. You won't believe how indispensable you come. If the law firm doesn't have a newsletter, create one, volunteer, do it. If your firm doesn't have events, set up a softball game or a bowling or a bonding experience. Support the firm, support the lawyers, figure it out, be creative, offer to help. Not many employees are doing that. So you want to look for novel ways to help the law firms you're working for. Maybe a new practice area. Bring ideas, be that shining light. Bake something and bring it in. Stand out, be proud, be loyal. Talk about your law firm's like they're the greatest thing ever. You'll be shocked how frequently it gets back to the bosses. And never complain and never dress up, and I'm going to say it again, show up. Even if your boss allows you to work from home, if they have an office there for you, show up. Number 8, learn about business. I know I've already mentioned this, but it's so important that I suggest you take either courses or you read business books. But it's one of the most important things that has made me successful was treating my law firm like a business. I didn't know what a balance sheet was or a KPI or how to hire and fire, and it's literally why I'm successful. Because I know about business now. I know how to read sheets, balance sheets. I didn't know how to have a proper meeting. I didn't know how to hold people accountable. I didn't know what human resources did. I didn't know any of that stuff. And most lawyers don't, and most lawyers really suck at it. So learn it now. After we wrote this book, I had dozens of lawyers around this country calling me and begging me to coach them and mentor them. And we actually eventually set up a coaching company, and we have a fireproof coaching company, and I have professional coaches who work with law firms. But they're all learning the art and the science of running a successful business, from going from unpredictable to wildly profitable. And when you're learning, you're going to learn about data. God, do I wish somebody told me about this when I was in law school. I'd have so many more contacts. I'd have so many more data points. If you work for somebody else or you set up your own shop, start keeping track of everything on day one. I didn't start for 15 years. Every name, every billable hour, every person who's ever sent you a case. If you're a divorce lawyer and you bill and you bring in cases, you got to know all of that. How many cases? What's the average fee? How long does it take to make a case go through? How many cases are you working for? How many cases are you working on a year? How much money did you take home a year? What was your bonuses? How much did you make for the firm? The names, the hours, the billables, the emails, the phone numbers. I'm telling you, start now. You all have laptops, you all have phones, start now. Number 9, one of my favorite, I gave an example at the lunch table today, and this isn't today. You're not going to delegate today, but you need to learn how to delegate. You can't delegate really in law school, like when I was in Arizona, but now you start thinking about delegation. If you see a blog or an article, it is probably the main secret that the people who are on my executive team on my office think is my special secret sauce. I am a master delegator, and I had to learn how to do that. I don't even know if I knew what that word was 20, 30 years ago. It's a learned skills. You see, lawyers have egos, and eventually I hope that you're all going to think that you're the best at something. I did. I thought I was the best trial attorney, the best at negotiations, the best at talking to defense attorneys, the best at talking to clients. Nobody was as good as me. Boy, was I wrong. When I learned and realized that that was all nonsense and that there was a lot of skilled people out there, that's when my firm literally grew and blew up. I was a solo for the first 10 years. I didn't hire anybody. I had some contract people here and there. But when I learned and realized that there was good and smart people out there, one of my mentors told me that and taught me that, things went through the roof for me. Sure, I taught them how I did things my way, and at the beginning I wanted them to do exactly it the way I did it. I just wanted them to be my clone. Impossible. They're going to do it their way. But their way's good, maybe better than my way, and you're never going to grow, and you're never going to be uber successful if you don't learn how to delegate. When you learn to delegate and you learn to say no, which is another topic that you're going to have to learn that skill, to say no and to delegate, your time multiplies. And if you want to be happy and successful in life, you need to eventually learn how to delegate things that you're not great at and you don't love to do. My sweet spot every single day is trying to stay in the lane and work on things that I love to do and I'm great at every single day. And it's been a lot of years, and I'm proud to say that is my life. I only work on things that I love to do and I'm great at, and I say no to everything else. The last one is start thinking about giving back to your community. Think about pro bono work. Think about backpack programs and the Humane Society and working on innocence clinic projects. And start now. If you can't afford money to give to these organizations, give your time, give your energy, and volunteer. I waited a lot of years to start that process. In fact, I just did one of our biggest pro bono projects recently, and we got a man out of prison who was serving a life sentence. He was there for 14 years, and my firm got him his freedom. This is literally a couple weeks ago. And literally the best thing that my firm has done in 30 plus years. So start now, start thinking about it. You know, when we wrote this book, Fireproof, it was to help lawyers run their law firms. And lawyers are notoriously horrible business people. But after, preparing for today's talk and meeting all of you, I really think that the formula in this book, plus the 10 things that we just went over, the 10 tactics laid out here today, can help you in your law school career and can help you work at a law firm, can help you run a law firm one day. Bad stuff is going to happen. You heard I had people die, my building burned down, I was fired from my first job, I was fired from my first referral source. But because of the way that I learned to live my life, which are the 10 tactics basically I just gave you, I not only survived, but I thrived. After every disaster, good things, better things came. My life and career got better and better and better. So if you plan ahead and you work on these things, you will bounce back quicker and never miss a beat. So I know you didn't come here today to become fireproof, but after hearing this talk, I hope that you think it's possible, that you know it's possible. Take some of these tips, enjoy the rest of your law school career, and have amazing careers in the law. Thank you.